Hi, welcome to this channel. I'm Roberto Cabras, and from this moment on, I will take you into the world of nature from a completely new perspective. Thanks to the use of special cameras placed on the bodies of animals, we'll be able to observe the environment directly from their point of view, experiencing it in an immersive, up-close way like never before. We will explore together the world of four-legged animals, aquatic creatures, birds, and even insects, stepping into their paths, their movements, and the places they travel through every single day. Right here on AI Wildcam.
Welcome to AI Wildcam. Discover the wonders of the world through the eyes of animals. Thanks to cameras with front and rear views, we will take you on a unique journey through paths and places no human could reach. Experience nature as you've never seen it before.
To explore the deepest and most inaccessible places in the ocean, we imagined an extreme project, entrusting the vision of the abyss to one of the very few creatures truly capable of surviving at those depths, the Hadal Snailfish. This fish, fragile only in appearance, lives in a world that is nearly unreachable for humans. Total darkness, constant cold, immense pressure, and absolute silence. For this reason, a high-resistance micro camera was mounted on its back, accompanied by two narrow forward-facing directional lights capable of illuminating only a small portion of the space directly ahead of it. The result is a unique perspective, not that of a submarine or a robot, but that of a living being naturally crossing the darkest seafloor on Earth. Every movement of the fish becomes a discovery. Every beam of light opens, for a few brief moments, a window into a buried world. Every object that emerges from the darkness seems to tell a forgotten story. And it is precisely in this way, by following the journey of the Hadal snailfish, that the abyss begins to reveal its secrets. 1. The forgotten torpedo. Across the cold sands of the seafloor, the beam of light intercepts a long, cylindrical, unsettling shape. It is not a rock, and it is not an ordinary piece of wreckage. It is an old torpedo, resting on the bottom as if time had stopped at the exact moment it disappeared. Its metal surfaces, now corroded and faded by the sea, still preserve the structure of the weapon. Its streamlined body, its rear fins, the now silent mechanics of something built to strike. Its presence is unsettling because its form appears intact, yet its purpose has been completely emptied away. It lies there, motionless, silent, and yet still charged with an invisible tension. Around it there is no sign of human life, only sand, darkness, and suspended particles. Seeing it in such a remote place creates the feeling of standing before a sleeping threat, preserved by the sea like a forgotten military secret. The fish glides past this impossible object, and for a moment it almost feels as though the weight of history itself is hidden beneath the silence of the abyss. The torpedo does not belong to this landscape, and that is exactly what makes it so disturbing. It feels like a fragment of human conflict dropped into a world that exists far beyond human reach. Even in decay, it still carries the cold geometry of its original purpose, and that makes the discovery all the more haunting. 2. The entrance to the sunken submarine. Out of the absolute blackness emerges a massive, curved metal structure, broken open by a large and jagged breach. It is the side of a sunken submarine, corroded by time and wounded by pressure, its hull torn open and partially buried in the sand of the seafloor. The Hadal fish's lights illuminate the ragged edge of the opening, revealing a dark entrance that seems at once inviting and threatening. The scene carries a particular power because it shows not only a wreck, but a doorway thrown open toward the unknown. Beyond that opening lies the interior of a machine built by humans to move through the sea, now abandoned in the most remote depths of the planet. The riveted surfaces, the lines of the structure, and its massive form transform the submarine into a kind of dead metal creature, gigantic and silent. The fish approaches with caution, and the camera fixed to its back allows us to feel the full unease of entering a place where the sea has taken possession of everything. There is something almost ceremonial about the way the opening appears in the light. It is not just damage in metal, but an entrance into a sealed chapter of the past. The longer the camera lingers on it, the more the wreck begins to feel less like a machine and more like a tomb resting in the dark. 3. The aircraft wreck. On the seafloor appears a light, almost skeletal carcass, unlike anything else around it. It is not a ship, and it is not a land vehicle. It is the wreck of an old aircraft, now reduced to an emptied, corroded, fragile frame. The wings are broken or bent, the fuselage lies open like a shell, and the details of the cockpit have been reduced to an interlacing of empty space, sheet metal, and sand. What makes this discovery so powerful is the contrast between what the aircraft once represented and the place where it now rests. It was built to challenge the sky, and yet it lies at the bottom of the ocean, in total darkness. Its thin structure makes it even more ghostly. It feels almost like the phantom of a machine that once crossed the clouds, and now, stripped of everything, rests in a world where flight no longer exists. The fish's lights move across the rusted surfaces and the empty openings in the fuselage, transforming the wreck into a vision suspended somewhere between history, tragedy, and mystery. Its frame is so exposed, so fragile, that it almost seems impossible it could have survived even in this form, and yet here it is, held together by rust, silence, and the immense stillness of the abyss. In that moment, the aircraft no longer looks like a machine at all, but like the fossil of a vanished ambition. 4. The tank on the seafloor. A little farther on, the abyss reveals something even more surreal, a tank resting on the seafloor, with its tracks, wheels, and heavy silhouette still recognizable beneath a layer of sand and corrosion. The vehicle appears like a mute giant, designed to move across land and now frozen, motionless, in a desert of marine sediment. Its presence in this setting is almost shocking. A machine born for ground warfare has ended up unimaginably far from any battlefield, lost in a place where no one would ever expect to find it. The wheels and tracks still speak of its origin, but the sea has already begun turning it into ruin. Its metal surfaces, worn and dull, give the impression of a force that has been emptied out, a machine made useless by time and depth. The Hadal fish passes it slowly, and the beam of light reveals its details only in fragments, as though the abyss wants to show just enough to make questions begin to form. The tank's mass gives it a strange authority even in defeat. It sits heavily in the sediment, no longer advancing, no longer resisting, no longer belonging anywhere at all. The sea has stripped away its power, leaving behind only shape, weight, and the uneasy memory of what it was built to do. 5. The crates and scattered supplies. In a broader, more chaotic area of the seafloor, the fish's camera focuses on a collection of crates, containers, and scattered materials, as though an entire shipment had been lost at once and then forgotten forever. Some crates still appear closed or partially intact, while others are smashed open, tilted, broken apart, and surrounded by metal fragments and objects whose original purpose is now difficult to identify. It is a scene that speaks of haste, interruption, and something that happened suddenly. It does not feel like a simple random pile of debris, but rather like a small field of artifacts telling the story of a human presence that has long since dissolved away. The handles, metal reinforcements, broken boards, and the remains of the materials inside make everything feel more concrete, closer, and more unsettling. The sea has not erased these objects. It has slowed them, transformed them, covered them in sand, and left them there like a memory dismantled piece by piece. The fish's light illuminates only part of the scene, while the rest remains submerged in darkness, suggesting that many more traces may still be hidden nearby. There is an unsettling intimacy in objects like these. They are not weapons themselves, but the things that traveled with war, the practical remains of movement, logistics, and human planning. Because of that, the scene feels less like a battlefield and more like a life interrupted in transit, frozen at the moment it vanished. 6. The abandoned weapons. Finally, the seafloor reveals the most unsettling face of this submerged zone, a collection of abandoned weapons and metal components, corroded, broken, and scattered among the sand and rocks. The camera does not give us a scene of action, but its opposite, the aftermath, the silence. The material that remains after the noise of war has disappeared. The metal pieces emerge one by one into the cone of light, as hard, rusted shapes that have lost their function but not their meaning. Some elements resemble rifles or support structures. Others look like twisted mechanical parts, deformed and unrecognizable. Everything appears still, bent, worn down. There is nothing heroic here, nothing spectacular, only the impression of standing before remnants that once existed to destroy and have now become objects buried beneath the total indifference of the sea. And perhaps that is the strongest aspect of the scene. In the abyss, even weapons are stripped of their purpose. They remain as mute shells, voiceless testimonies wrapped in a darkness that neither judges nor forgets. What survives here is not power, but evidence, not victory, but residue. The abyss keeps them all the same way, silent, scattered, and slowly fading into the floor of a world that remembers everything without ever speaking.
Thank you for watching this video until the end. Your support is truly important and motivates us to keep creating increasingly immersive and engaging content. Your support helps the channel grow and allows these videos to reach more and more people passionate about nature, exploration, and immersive filming. We'll see you here in the next video. See you soon on AI Wildcam.